And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, January 17th. Third hour on Friday can only mean what just happened. And this week, three great people who've been on before and they've returned. Unbelievable, I know it. Caroline Hidalgo is back, our good friend, comedian, podcaster, co-host of No Dogs in Space and the Professional Friends podcast, and a frequent guest on this show and others. Carolina, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I'm glad to be on this last segment before we all get deported to, I don't know. Where's your hometown, Dean? New Jersey?
New Jersey, which is,
Yeah.
I don't want to go back because there's concession pricing I have to go as I get through it and all that. So we'll have to deal with that. Kate Willett is back, comedian, actress, writer. She's appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Netflix's comedy lineup, and co-host of the podcast Reply Guys. Kate, nice to see you, my friend.
It is nice to see you too.
And look who's here. It's been too long. I don't know where, I thought you'd be getting ready for the opening up the MAGA inauguration. Kevin Dombrowski's here, a regular comedian performing all over the circuit. He's been on the Artie Lang Show, Wendy Williams Show, many, many shows on SiriusXM, including this one. Kevin, nice to see you, my friend.
What's up, pal? Yeah, I've got the Tony Hinchcliffe spot on the inauguration. I'm gonna.
That's right. People thought that Tony had ended Trump's chances of winning, and people are like, it's just a comedian.
Well, like I'm gonna go in, and they're gonna reverse the decision, like he wanted Mike Pence to 4 years ago.
Right. By the way, Kevin's not actually performing at the inauguration. I don't think you are. Because people might think you are. He's not. I'm kidding. And by the way, people at home can't see it, but on the video, you can see I'm wearing my Fordham hockey jersey. I just bought it. I played on ice hockey 4 years of college at Fordham, and they were doing a fundraiser, and you can buy your number, and I got my name on the back. It says Obeidallah right there to make it easier for Trump to identify the Muslims. I thought it'd be a good time to wear something that says Allah on the back right now. So this is the last what just happened during democracy. So
hold on, Dean. I do want to say that you said you were going to mention it on air because people don't know that you're an athlete. I do want to say that we can see you and we still don't know that you're an athlete.
Damn it, I played 4 years of ice hockey and in high school at a Catholic high school, which had a really good hockey team. I could have been something, but I was like a mid-level player. I was like, I was competent. Like I was good, but not great. That's the truth. But I'm an alpha male. I just want people to know that in the time of masculinity, or is it toxic masculinity? That's it. Now, because I'm not really good at it, because I'm not really an alpha. But I deep down. So Carolina, you touched on it. I mean, Trump, this would be the last free what just happened in the time of freedom and democracy. How are you? What do you think? Does it end Monday at noon? Like, does it just and then everything drops down? They're moving the inauguration inside, apparently. That's the reporting a short time ago, because it's going to be too cold for Donald Trump. There's not enough makeup he can wear to warm his face, but apparently not. And they are literally thinking of moving indoor because, just so people know history, President Harrison gave a speech in 1841. It was freezing cold. He gave a long speech, got pneumonia, and died 30 days later.
Oh, wow.
Just want to share history. So maybe someone showed that to Trump. He's like, yeah, I don't want it. So Caroline, we'll talk later more about reflecting on Trump, but what's your just visceral reaction? You are an immigrant and this.
Yeah. I just escaped the fires last week. And now we're back. And now this whole thing is going. So what just happened it's been a weekly thing already, and it probably obviously it's not going to stop, or it might be what just happened on steroids for the next few years, and I guess that's what we have to be prepared for, which is the unexpected. And that I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that I want to be drunk that day. Sunday, Monday? I'm going to pick that day.
Whatever day. You've been through a lot. You deserve to get drunk a lot. Kate, what about you? How are you looking at the prospect of Donald Trump? And is this last weekend meaningful in some way? Are there bucket list items you're going to do, like see the Statue of Liberty, criticize the government, stuff like that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have been trying to get a few last minute TikToks in, but I think weirdly that might not get banned. Anyway, we'll get into that later. But, I mean, it's like, I am really not a fan of Donald Trump. I have never voted for a Republican in my life, and I probably never will. But I have to say that, I was not a fan of the Biden presidency at the beginning. I totally was. I really admire Lena Khan. I loved some of his appointments. I appreciate what they did with the NLRB. But, I felt really disappointed by this administration's super hawkish foreign policy. And so I think for myself, I'm just feeling like, ugh, it continues. I'm sure Trump will be worse. I'm sure he will be worse in meaningful ways, but it's like, I don't feel like I'm saying goodbye to something that was positive for me.
Fair enough. Now, Kevin, this is really your time to shine, isn't it? You know, for white men, this is. I'm not Trump. Kevin's not a MAGA guy, but he was like a running joke when he would be on the past. I never thought that Trump would win and come back. I'm not kidding. So it's kind of weird now, but now you have the receipts to help yourself move up.
Sure,
Look,
sure.
I've been on MAGA. So I mean, how are you viewing this? Any big difference?
Well, I have been waiting for him to get reelected so Matt would invite me back on the show. It's been it's been 4 years of me not playing the evil white man on your panel, so it is nice to be back home. Look, I agree in terms of what Kate had just said. Look, you know me, dude. I hate both sides. I hate everyone. So I'm not. I agree that it's going to be more of the same because I do think a lot of the things that people are afraid of were enacted during the Biden administration. And so it's not like this like crazy radical shift. It's like, well, it just may not change back now. And so I do think that that's an interesting point. As far as it being inside, to me, that feels like a crazy national security. It just feels like with everything happening lately, there's a higher risk of something happening everywhere. It's what it feels like to me. Mm-hmm. And I do love that you use the I forget what president, but from
Harrison.
The 1800s.
1841.
Look, there was, I doubt there were heaters back then. So, of course, he got pneumonia and died. Anyone that went outside their fire-drawn living room probably got pneumonia and died after his speech.
He stood out there. So it's going to be, look, it'll happen Monday. By having it indoor, though, Trump will still claim it was the biggest crowd ever. Like you couldn't see the million of people in this building. They were everywhere. We had him hidden up in the closets and in the crawl space and stuff like that. He'll still so I think it's kind of interesting that if it's not officially moved in, but it's looking likely. And if he wasn't his age, maybe they wouldn't move it in. But at his age, that it's probably a safer thing. So Carolina, Kate already gave her view a little bit on Biden. He gave his farewell address on Wednesday, President Biden, a tradition that began with George Washington, who didn't do it on television. He did it in writing in a statement. But how do you look back? How do you think Biden will be remembered overall in terms of history?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it is true that what Kate was saying, that what I believe is that Biden will be remembered as the guy between the two presidencies of Trump. So it's not going to be viewed favorably, especially as far as what he could have done. I mean, we all understand that he didn't. Biden did do some good things that we agree on, and his presidency also did some things that we don't agree on. Like, we were very vocal about that during that whole time, and I think that's a good thing. Like, that, not a good thing necessarily, but it might be a different situation in the next presidency as far as that goes. But I do think he will be remembered as the guy who probably should have stepped down and had primaries. And that is the sad part, that there was a lot of regret, just kind of mopping yourself into a corner, which is the Democratic Party has done. I don't even know what the Democratic Party is anymore. I mean, I've been voting.
It is. Hockey jerseys. The hockey jersey. This is the new Democratic Party. These are our jerseys. Everyone has to be called Obeidallah right there. I'm so excited about my name being on the jersey. I'm like a child. Like I should put my Batman cape and go walk around and see the little kids like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Hockey Man." So
I hope it's Dean. I hope it's just Dean, because then therefore it could get a new facelift. Because at this point we need some sort of party that just isn't not Republican party, or parties that actually do help and see the working class and go through that. But I don't even know. I think we're a little in this just complicated mess. Who knows how we're going to get out of this?
And Kate, it's funny that Carolina said, a lot of us were very supportive of President Biden in the beginning. His domestic stuff was amazing, like the COVID stuff and the veterans and the CHIPS bill and the infrastructure, did so much great stuff. Then it was really more in foreign policy, because once they lost the House, they couldn't pass legislation. So I was critical of Biden, but at the same time, I still want Democrats to win, and did all I could to help Vice President Harris through my show and guests. But, Kate, a lot of people go like, well, Democrats, you need your own Joe Rogan and the Democratic Party should invest in it. But that's the problem, because if you invested in my show, then I can't criticize Democrats. And we're no longer, if you're a progressive, doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, if you're a progressive, you have no problem criticizing your own. We do that a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, Kate, because going forward, right now, I just saw Jon Stewart literally on his podcast yesterday saying, Democrats are so outgunned when it comes to new media. Okay, so invest in it, but then does that make us like part of the Democratic Party apparatus? And I don't I want to be free to speak my mind.
Yeah, I think that, like the thing that they're trying to create, I don't think can be created on purpose. Like basically the version of trying to like create that kind of media on purpose would be like the crooked media situation, Pod Save America, where they're like, we have, we're making this podcast to support Democrats and it has its audience. But I think what people like about Rogan, and I myself am not a big Rogan listener.
No, but he has.
Yeah,
I
like,
understand. You're saying
but
his
what people
success.
like about him is they feel like he is, being honest, that he's willing to speak his mind, consider diverse points of view, and like the left version of that is going to include critiques of capitalism, of the ruling class. It's going to talk about redistributing wealth. So, of course, like the Democratic Party apparatus is never going to be super enthusiastic about that. Like one person I think is getting really big right now that I'm a fan of is Hassan Piker. And,
I know he is.
yeah, I mean, he's doing fantastic interviews. I saw his interviews with the incarcerated firefighters in LA, and he's amazing. But they're not going to feature like a super anti-billionaire message like at the highest levels of the Democratic Party.
Kevin, so you're representing the billionaire class in this segment because you're so rich. What do you think? Look, Biden it's funny how Biden is just unveiling things the last few days, which I'm like, I wish you talked about this a long time ago. Like the oligarchy. I've had Bernie Sanders. Bernie was just on my show last week. He's been on so many times. I said, Senator Sanders, you predicted the plutocracy and the oligarchy, and it's here. How do you feel? He's just laughing. He goes, yes, we did it. Right? Like that kind of thing. We do have the increasing power of the wealthy that's more and more concentrated, and now they flex their muscles in politics like unlike we've ever seen with Elon Musk. But it wasn't just Elon Musk. These other people that people don't even know their names, like Timothy Mellon, who gave hundreds of millions of dollars, and others. I mean, do you think there's something there that can unite people on the right and the left that, like, we got to get big money out of politics? You can make all the money you want, but we have to have a limit to what you can spend on any campaign. It has to be the same limit for all of us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do like, by the way, I like how you have such a straight face when I'm the evil white guy, and then you say I'm rich, and you laugh through your teeth as you say I'm rich.
Come on, we're comedians. No, none of us are rich. This is how we do this.
It's the only one that's believable when you sell it really well. Look, here's the thing: is both sides have those crazy donors. Does George Soros make decisions, or does he do it in a back alleyway? I think Elon Musk likes the spotlight. It's right. It depends. I think both sides have their donor thing. I think in terms of like proven facts of what like Google and these big companies do to like push out skewed views and shit like that, I think it's all crazy for both sides. I do think there needs to be some sort of regulation because it feels like kind of backroom lobbying, where it's not so much out where you have to report on everything and it's right in everyone's face. It feels like these backdoor conversations are happening, and and it's kind of like right in front of us too, which is weird because it's not reported on. But like, I know we're going to discuss later, but like Elon having office space in the White House is fucking madness. It's crazy. I mean, what is there going to be neon lights with an X in front of his door? Like, that's so insane to me.
He'll have a little mini Tesla.
He will have a mini Tesla, like a kid's thing, like one of those Jeeps that he just drives around the
Get in, come on, I'm going to the cafeteria.
But here's the thing: is I actually think Biden's going to be looked at more favorably now than he was before. I do understand that Kamala lost, but I think it's more on the party than on him. I think if they did push him out, they pushed him out too soon. Oh, I'm sorry, too late.
Too late.
So that there wasn't like a primary thing that could happen where another candidate could have tested maybe a little bit better or whatever the case is.
I understand.
So I do think when he dropped out, instantly everyone that was like criticizing him was like, good for you for doing what you think is the right thing to do, right? But then it was so late that she lost that now everyone's like, why didn't you do it sooner? Which just speaks to the fact that no one's ever going to be happy on your side. There's always going to be something.
If you
wrong
win, no. If Vice President Harris won, everyone would be like, that was perfect.
Sure.
That was so
everyone
well.
would have been great.
When you lose, everybody points fingers. Doesn't matter what side you are.
That's
a common thing. But
it
by the way,
flip-flop back and forth.
You can never badmouth George Soros again on the show because he's funny. I get a weekly check from George Soros, and I'm kidding because I don't. But I say to people, I was on Piers Morgan's show last week. By the way, I was on Piers Morgan's show and I was on with like right wing people like Tim Pool, and I'm like,
Ugh.
and I said, don't you agree big money should get out of politics? And he said, yeah, too. Like, and I said, you don't want Soros's money. I don't want Soros. We don't want any of this. I'm telling you, we are going. It's a new gilded age. I'm glad Biden mentioned the robber barons. That was the 1880s, 1890s. These wealthy oligarchs, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan had so much money. They bragged about owning judges and governors, and there was no Sherman Antitrust Act. They had just trusts everywhere. There was no competition. That's where we're going again. Like history is repeating. So I'm glad he said it. And look at. Trump is the king of the oligarchs. Like this is really just remarkable. This bullshit we're about to live through here. This is people think the Gilded Age sounds nice. Like Gilded Age, no, it's the crap age.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yes.
that's my. I'm telling Hidalgo,
The crap
Kate Willett,
age sounds
What a
and
historian.
Kevin Dombrowski. All right. So by the way, so TikTok Supreme Court ruled this morning that they're not going to overturn the law, which they never were. It was a bipartisan law, and they ruled 9-0 that we're not even getting into the content thing. This is a national security issue. That's what they premised the law on, so that's it. But Biden's like, I'm not going to enforce the law. Then why did you push for it? And then Trump's like, I'm going to sign an executive order not to enforce the law. You can't have that. You can't have a president overruling laws. Like, even though I don't think TikTok should be banned at all, like, and I think if there's really national security concerns, you can accommodate them without banning a platform. I mean, come on.
100%.
So, right. I mean, so Kate, I'm on TikTok, and if it gets banned, there's going to be 382 people. Really disappointed. With my followers. I was just looking at the number. I was just climbing. I went to 382. I don't use it a lot, and if I do, I'm not doing it well. The algorithm is not a fan of me. But Kate, are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. I never really got super into TikTok, to be honest. However, I absolutely do not support them banning it. I think it's been a really important medium for young people to, share opinions and information with each other. And I think that that's why they're banning it. But I think it just comes across as so authoritarian. It comes across like censorship, and I don't think that that's a good thing for the Democratic Party to have their brand permanently attached to, especially if Trump figures out a really showy way to save TikTok and get credit for that, which is so dumb that it will probably happen. I don't know.
It will. Carolina, I could see Trump doing a dance video on TikTok where he's signing the
God.
legislation,
Yeah.
and it goes like 20. Right, exactly. That's the Bob DeBono dance that our friend is a comedian who makes his living doing. And I like Bob. I don't judge how people make their living at this point. He does a Trumping thing.
I think that's just how Bob dances. I don't think he's even doing an impression.
Kevin, have you seen the videos? I like Bob. His video, and there's a special guest at the party, and it's Bob dressed as Trump, and people are cheering. I'm like, it's not Trump, it's Bob DeBono. I like Bob. Book him for your party. I don't care. But I'm saying, like, why would anyone cheer? Like, who is so dumb? Let's get Carolina. What do you think? I think Kate makes a good point, which really concerns me, that Biden signed a law to ban it, and that Trump's going to be like, I saved TikTok. And younger people who are still looking for what party they might be like, well, look, Trump saved TikTok. Democrats were going to ban it. And that's really how it's going to play.
I mean, it could, and I do think that maybe TikTok might be like banned eventually. Right now, he's saying he's going to save it, that maybe he'll do some sort of extension or something, trying to keep it in the news and the headlines. I mean, this is all just a ploy to me. I don't think he cares either way. I don't think anyone really cares either way. I think even Kate said, like, well, it'll be, or Dean, like your 300 people might be disappointed. I don't have a TikTok. I'm soon gonna reach middle age, so I'm getting to the point where the less people I know or see, the better. So for me, it is kind of like a non-issue almost. But yes, you're right. They're just using it for political points at this point.
Is that the arc of life, that the older you get, the less you want to be seen by others? It's not. It's funny. I keep leaning into every platform available. Like, this is gonna be my platform. Like, I'm on Blue Sky is gonna make me famous.
You didn't like this, you'll love this.
Friendster didn't work. MySpace, I leaned all in. Facebook is dead. I never caught on with TikTok, but I'm like, anything invented, I'm going to be the first one in. I'm on the bottom of the floor. And this is where my genius will finally be reflected. I think, what was remarkable, I watched a cable news segment on MSNBC, and I actually like a lot of the anchors on MS because I go on there. But because I do like some and some I don't. But they had a whole discussion about TikTok ban today and how Trump flip-flopped. In his first administration, he wanted to ban it, and now he doesn't. And they didn't mention the big reason was that Jeff Yass, who's a billionaire, owns a big chunk of TikTok and became one of Trump's biggest oligarchs, supporting him more quietly than Elon Musk, but yes, a huge oligarch. And that's why he switched. And corporate media, I'm like, you're just protecting the oligarchs. Because, Kate, to me, if you want to get people angry about the oligarch, you've got to show them real world examples of how they're controlling things. And they might like this, but I think people are young people and old people get today, Jeff Yass might be on their side. Tomorrow, he's not on their side. And the big money people are always on their own side. They're never on our side. It just happens to line up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that complicates that is that it was a real oligarch versus oligarch battle. Like Zuckerberg, for example, really wants TikTok to get banned because he thinks that he's going to get that business. And, I don't think that it is a thing where like there's a side that we can be on that an oligarch is not on.
That's the reality. And that's why you got to get big money, like one limit for everyone, whatever it might be,
100%.
$2,000, whatever it is, something like that. Because this idea of, oh, you're the same power as Elon Musk. You both have one vote. I'm like, shut up. Don't ever say that again. Like, don't
really
lie to my face. That's just bullshit. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So all right, let's one last thing about politics here.
Are you not going to ask me about TikTok on purpose?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Are you a TikToker? Are you a big TikTok? I just had on vSphere this week, who has 3.3 million followers. That's how she makes her living. Like, this is not a joke. This is how you make. So people like that, their small businesses essentially are going to lose their living. So I feel for them. There's got to be a way to accommodate them. But so what's your take on it, my friend?
Well, once I rub balm on my knees and do a TikTok dance, everything feels okay with the world. No, I don't do a TikTok dance, Dean. I post stand-up clips like everyone else, and then I walk away from them. It's interesting to me. One, I don't know how I'm going to communicate with my daughters in the future. If TikTok does get banned, it does feel like that's going to be the only way to talk to the younger generation.
Are your daughters in China right now? Is that why?
Well, once I ship them off for not doing anything around the goddamn house,
why don't you just talk to them? What is wrong with you, Kevin? Parenting tips. Do you have Chino Bisconti parenting tips?
I do, yes. Yeah, I have to pass down the generations.
These are too many inside
jokes
between me and Kevin, right?
Yes. No, the censorship thing, I know they call it a national security threat. Me just being a 40-year-old dude that's in entertainment, that's really in between the generations of the old school comics that was get good and someone would see you, and then form your own audience and then get good with them. I'm right in between.
Right.
It doesn't, I think you and I are in the same boat. It doesn't super affect me that it's going to get banned.
I'm 27, so I'm not sure what
you look it with that hockey jersey.
Yeah, that's what I'm wearing. I'm a child. I have a surfboard. I'm working around with
you look like you're going to be retired into the rafters with your jersey. They're just going to lift you up and then put you to bed. Yeah, look, I think any censorship or banning of something like this sets a dangerous precedent moving forward of like, what's the next thing? Like, I totally get if they say, it's Chinese government infiltrating and they're looking up data and that stuff. I get it. I can understand it. But like, what's not to say that like when they take away the fact checking at Meta, that like it's Russian government bullshit or like whatever government gets involved, because let's be honest, there is a propaganda machine that infiltrates into media and skews how people think about everything. So like, where does it end at that? So even though I can see their point on this, I don't agree. I think it sets a slippery slope because, look, if you get banned, I don't know where I'm going to do radio.
That's a whole different thing. I mean, that's who knows how it's going to look. I think it's an interesting point you made about comics, that there were in the old days, comics would toil for like 10, 12 years in the clubs, try to get a few credits and then get the headline mid-level places. And then, I just had Jim Gaffigan on last week and it happened, or 2 weeks ago, and it came up a little bit about how it just expedites the process for certain people who are really media savvy, for good or for bad. So, man, if 20 years ago, no, what was it? 2008, I was on this Comedy Central special, Axis of Evil. It was the first time they had Middle Eastern American comics. If there was a TikTok and this kind of stuff, I would be famous. I would not be talking to you three. I would have like a huge show. I'd be talking to the cast of Severance right now because they were just in studio. All right, let's take a break and come back, continuing what just happened with our friends Carolina Hidalgo, Kate Willett, and Kevin Dombrowski right after this. We lost Kate there.
No, yeah, sorry. My internet was wonky for a second.
All right, you're back, and I'm sweating because of my hockey jersey, but I've committed to it, so I got 20 more minutes. Here we go, and welcome back.
No one can see you.
I know. Well, no, they could because we put this on YouTube. And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're continuing here Friday, January 17th with our friends Carolina Hidalgo, Kate Willett, and Kevin Dombrowski. Carolina, I want to start with you because you live in California. You know, it's horrific. We've had people on to talk about the fires, the devastation. People have seen the news reports. The Congress should just be like, we're going to help people. Instead, Republicans are like, let's impose conditions on giving money to California. When Democrats never talked about conditions to helping people in red states. Texas had, you know, the huge storms in North Carolina, which is a red and bluish state, but there was not talk about it. And meanwhile, I just want to give people numbers. I found a report in 2022, the most recent one. California contributes $83 billion more in federal taxes in that year than they receive.
Yeah.
Like it's the big blue states that fund the federal government, to be honest. It's not, no slighting the red states, but we just are the population centers, much more people, you know, screw you, North Dakota and South Dakota. We are the ones that pay for everything. And you live in California. What's it like to hear Republicans play these games?
Well, at this point, like, especially when we were dealing with ash all over our house and having to leave and drive between two fires to get out, because you couldn't even breathe outside. It smelled like burning tires for a few days there. And also seeing the fires come closer and closer. You see your little blue dot that says home. And then that whole thing, being on edge for days, not sleeping, having to check alerts on constant. No, like it. You're tired. You don't sleep. You have so much on your mind. You have a million people calling you and texting you, and people, the further away they are, the worse the advice they give. So when you're going through that, and then you're reading about how Republicans or conservatives or, you know, alt-right, the right-wing people are gleefully happy to see houses burned down, even though over 90% of the houses were just regular income people. A lot of older people, a lot of disabled people passed away. It was heartbreaking. It was horrible. It was not one of those, hey, let's unite the country things, that Katrina, like, it was none of those, like, hey, together, why don't we talk about, like, the situation and why like, how we got here and why this sucks. Instead, it was just blaming it on the people who are actually suffering, which is the worst part of it all. So yeah, no, it sucked. So we kind of had to ignore it. And then this whole thing of gleefully being like, okay, well, you know, we'll maybe help you, but that whole thing, it's got all the Californians over here just yelling about, like, what about federal taxes? What if we just don't pay our landlord? Because what are we getting out of this? Exactly.
I really wish attorney generals would try to, in blue states, if this is going to continue, try to figure out a legal way for us to pay our taxes, but to the state and escrow for the federal government. And we use our fees first, our state money first, and then turn it over. But there has to be a way individually that we're not prosecuted for. And so you would need the AGs in each state to figure out a way. As a lawyer myself, I can't think of it, but I'd like to. Also, the other thing, last year I was warning people, if Republicans get control of the House and the Senate and the White House, they will condition aid on their social agenda. Like, you can't allow abortion in your state, or you're not giving highway funds anymore, or you got to ban transgender teens from everything, or we're not going to give you any more federal funding for your schools.
They tried to get the sheriff fired. Not the sheriff. I'm sorry. The LAPD. They tried to get her fired just because she's a lesbian. And
that's what they do.
And everyone's like, well, a lot of women in wildfire, you know, emergencies are usually butch women who sometimes tend to, like, what are you trying to say here? You know, like, and that's it. That is the problem. That's why all of this devastation happened, because one person happens to have a lifestyle at home like that. Obviously, they're changing everything. They're trying to dehumanize and try to let everyone forget about the devastation, how heartbreaking it is, and how to see, like, how everyday regular people have lost everything. And that they don't want you to think about that. Basically, no. They want to not even, they want to divide this even further and further. And the further away it is, the easier it will be to be like, I didn't know there were concentration camps. And I mean, I know that's quite a jump, but hey,
we're
not that far.
And if there are concentration camps, and I will be in one, wearing my hockey jersey, that the Wi-Fi won't even be free. Trump will charge us. It'll be like Trump Wi-Fi, like $3 a day out of my hourly wage that I get for cleaning the camp, something like that. So, Kate, the Republicans were blaming the fires on diversity hires. Like, there's no bottom to this party. Like, they don't even have to hide it. They're like, you see? And to them, anyone who's not a white man is a diversity hire, because this white male supremacy is underneath all of this. So what is your reaction to the garbage that we just have seen the last couple of weeks with them?
I mean, it's It's so wild. It's like I was like, I wonder what they're gonna blame the fires on. And at first they started blaming the fires on homeless people, which is not true. I mean, it's like no matter I have no idea what the original kind of like thing that set off the first, spark is, but like you need things to be so dry. You need the winds, you need climate change, you need like, to not have enough budget in your fire department. Like there's so many things working together that make a fire that big. And for them to narrow in on like DEI and homeless encampments, it just is like it feels like they've completely lost touch with reality, to be honest.
So, Kevin, should I do a quick joke at your expense?
Please do. Please
no,
do.
I'm kidding.
Let's
Kevin is
lighten it
our
up. Come on.
Kevin is our DEI hire. This is you are the Pete Hegseth of this panel. You are we're like, where can we find the worst of everyone rolled to one? Pete Hegseth at perfect. He's the DEI hire. So, I mean, Kevin, did you ever live in California? Have you always lived here?
I've always lived here. I've spent some time out in Los Angeles, so I'm familiar. But I do like this is the only place in the world that would be considered a diversity hire is on a Dean Obeidallah panel.
White guy, no. I have to check the box. We need one of them. There
Yeah,
we go.
fair enough. Look, I don't obviously I don't know the answer. Does it surprise me that one side found something wrong with something else and the other side argues it? No. You could have a pothole in front of your house and someone would find it. Well, it happened like that because of climate change and the pavement expanded and then it contracted and we got to control that. And the other one's like, well, it happened like that because they spent all of the money hiring a different type of public works person that doesn't know how to carry a bag of concrete. Like everyone, they're going to fight over everything. So does it surprise me that something that's this public was open for debate and forum? Absolutely not. Who knows the goddamn answer, but of course it's going to happen.
All right, we're chatting out Carolina Hidalgo, Kate Willett, and Kevin both sides Dombrowski, who is here. Everything is both sides of this guy. There's no one. That's the easiest thing. That's like the white guy
I'm a joke maker.
thing.
Come
like
on.
I'm above politics. Both sides are bad. Blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, Kevin's a good guy, and I think he's actually center left deep down inside because you're a comedian. This is the world we live in, and you have two daughters, right? So I mean, This has an impact on you. So by the way, everything's going to be solved in Hollywood. Trump yesterday announced he has 3 special ambassadors to Hollywood, and they're very diverse. Jon Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone. And they are called special ambassadors. And by the way, Mel Gibson actually commented afterwards, I don't know what this is about. Like he was never even consulted. I'm not kidding. That's really serious. Like he really said, he goes, I was not consulted, but okay, thank you. That type of thing. Like Voight is close to Trump a little bit. I don't know. Mel Gibson's in his circle and Stallone's friends with Trump, but Gibson's like, I don't, I have enough problems. And this, I don't need his. But for, Carolina, you're in Hollywood. You live out in California. Are you a separate country that you have ambassadors now from the U.S. government? They have to show their papers and they come in and.
Honestly, I think Trump is trying to make it seem like there's 2 factions in Hollywood, but there's not. There's Hollywood and then there's a few guys. And really, it truly is. I mean, I haven't seen or heard about any of Jon Voight or Sylvester Stallone in 30 years other than, be Me Too'd or something. So at this point, I don't think it even matters. I think he's trying to make Hollywood seem divisive. It's not. They're divisive over other things. They're divisive over pay gaps, and that's more important, really, than what's Trump's agenda, to be honest.
Well, that's what they're going to get rid of. They're going to get rid of the pay cap because they're all about equity, especially
and
Voight.
By the way, if we were in a whole other country, Fran Drescher would obviously be our president. I mean,
very true. So, Kate, what do you think the goal of this? Because interesting, Carolina is saying that it's an effort to divide Hollywood. Hollywood's divided by working and not working. That's how I know. I'm like, I'm working. It's really great. I'm not working. There are no, I don't like Jon Voight's politics at all. But if he's at a show I'm going to watch it. I know there's certain people would be really hard to, honestly, because all I can think of that. But even though Voight is way out there, I don't. I'm still going to watch it. Are there any celebrities out there that you're like, their politics is so toxic, I really wouldn't watch a film or TV show they're in? And I don't mean personal misconduct, like a Cosby thing. I mean, honestly, like their politics.
I mean, I haven't watched any Kevin Sorbo shows in a while.
Does
You
he
know
make
about
you
his deal?
shows?
He like appears in these like evangelical Christian films. I've seen clips of him. But you know what? As I'm saying this, I'm like, I 100% would watch those. I think they're probably really funny. And so I don't know. Honestly, I don't tend to keep track of the politics of celebrities that much because even when celebrities are talking about things that I generally agree with, it's always like, I don't know, we all remember that Imagine video. I'm like, just you haven't talked to a
Oh
regular
yeah.
person in a long time.
The
Yeah.
I had Lucy Lawless on recently, who you mentioned, Conservo. She is such a great activist. Like she's like remarkable. She just made a documentary. She directed a documentary about a war correspondent, but she's very progressive. It was right before the campaign and then the election day. So, Kevin, I mean, is there any? You don't seem that invested in politics. Like there'd be someone politically that you're like, I just can't watch this, or is there someone that you're like, their politics is so I can only see them talking about politics. And if you don't want to answer that, let me ask you: are you on Team Blake Lively or Team Justin Baldon?
All
Like which
right.
one?
Well, let me address a few things. First, I thought Kate was going to land on I can't watch anything that Kevin Dombrowski's in. I was going to go. I'll do you one better. You couldn't watch anything that I was in because I'm not in it.
You got TikTok
No,
videos.
I did
That's why.
make
That's why he's
TikTok
getting
videos.
banned. That's what this. That's the argument from
Until
court.
Monday.
This is
Yeah.
Kevin Dombrowski. Let's America
And
can't
that one
see
I
this.
would agree with. I would say, you know what, censorship's important. No, it doesn't. There is no one that I watch in television or movies that I would listen to anything they say besides their lines. So in terms of politics, it doesn't affect me because I think most of them are like wild personalities that I would never be friends with anyway. So I can ignore all of that right away. I am the ideal like movie and show audience. I watch what you want me to see. I don't even try to figure out the show. I just watch it like an
Is
idiot.
it on?
And then and my wife's like, "How did you not see that coming?" And I'm like, "Because I just watch what they put in front of me."
Oh, you're not thinking ahead. Like I'm always
Oh, I don't
guessing
care
ahead.
about that at all.
Oh,
No, it's an escape for me. Take me on the ride, and I'll be just as surprised at the end as everyone else. I'm totally fine with that.
I guess
Uh,
everything, even in holiday movies. Like I was watching like The Spirited and the Red. I'm like, I know what's gonna happen to Santa in this. Like, and my
yeah.
fiance's like, stop talking. Like that's. I'm like,
No, the only way I would try to solve it is to feel smarter than my wife for that very one moment.
I
Is
know
to
your
be
wife.
like,
It's not gonna happen.
I know, it's not going to work at
No.
all. To be like, I got that before you got that, which just never happens. But I'll tell you what the funniest thing to me is when Mel Gibson picks up his phone and he goes, "What the hell is this?" That is one of the funniest images ever. I really
That was his
here's what I
exact
think.
quote. That was his quote when he found out this
Well,
thing.
no, I don't know, but
No,
here's
but
what I
yeah,
think
he.
happened. I think Trump turned off Gibson's episode of Rogan and was like, "This is my new ambassador." And then Mel Gibson was like, "My house just caught on fire. I'm not an ambassador to anyone." It's so wild.
I think it is interesting that it really was a news story. Mel Gibson shocked to be at when asked about it because what are you talking about? So but that's signify that so typifies Trump. By the way, do any of you like Severance? Because the new season just
I
began.
love it. I
Do you-
love it. I just watched it last night.
Don't
this
say
Thursday.
anything. I haven't
Oh
watched it.
my God, it's great. Yeah,
The
keep
whole cast
going.
was at SiriusXM yesterday for Andy Cohen. Everyone was there. It was or 2 days ago. The entire I was like watching the clips. I'm like, wow, they had everybody there. What about you, Kate? Do you watch Severance?
I've never seen it, so I'm excited to check
Stop
it out.
now. Sign off. Go watch
Okay,
it. Come
Go
back.
watch
See you
it.
later. It's been so
Please.
nice, except for
No.
Kevin. Just kidding.
Kevin, do you watch that? Has your wife made you watch that yet?
No, unfortunately, and fortunately for I'm not. I've been out working most nights, so it's not. I can't. I fall behind on TV, and then I get anxiety trying to keep up with episodes of what's happening. So I truly.
You
I
haven't
don't,
even watched what's happening? That's what
No,
you're saying?
I just finished
The 70s?
Rescue Me. I
Oh
have
my God, with
nothing-
Dennis Leary?
I'm so far behind on TV. I
You're
have no
such
idea what's happening.
You're so following that path of Dennis Leary and those
I
guys.
really am. I'm
That's
even
what
wearing
you're
the
doing.
same. I'm doing the fleece things like he does now.
So Carolina, we've both watched Severance. I like it very much. There was an article in a New Jersey publication. They spent, I'm not kidding, in the last season, because they film mostly in New Jersey, $24 million filming in New Jersey. $24 million last year filming in New Jersey, according to the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. And you're telling me the mafia is gone? Are you kidding me? $24 million? What kind of shakedown was this for Tony Soprano and these guys? 24. You could buy New Jersey. You could have a city in New Jersey for $24 million. They literally spent that. It says the acclaimed workplace thriller, known for its stark white office look, spent $24 million filming in its new season. That big building is an old Bell Labs office place, the one where they have their actual offices. So that's in Jersey. I think 24 million is a little pricey.
It is. I'm just shocked that they weren't in Vancouver or Long Island City or one of the 3 places everyone films in.
The rental was like $1 million, but the union fees were 22 million because it's Jersey. They had to pay off everybody. No, they didn't. Like, Joey, come here. Like, was a lot of no shows. I never saw this guy around. Hey, shut up, give him the money. This is my impression of every work site in Jersey because I'm half Italian. This is what we do. So, all right, we got like 5 or 6 minutes left. And then I want to give you a chance, everyone, to plug everything. But going back to where we started, Trump gets sworn in Monday. They avowed, quote, shock and awe on day one to remind people that's the way George W. Bush bragged how the Iraq war was going to start. I'm not kidding. So, I mean, is this an attack on us? I'm not really, they're trying to scare people. But, Kate, what are your predictions? Like, if we're in a year from now and we're still allowed to do this show, do you think Trump has succeeded at certain things? The economy is bad. His tariffs have really have been imposed and people are paying 20%, 25% more and going crazy. Like, where do you think we might be in a year on any issue? You could pick one.
More so than any other time, I really don't know. I'm thinking about the tariffs and his horrible mass deportation plan, but I think he's going to get huge resistance from the oligarchs on both of these things. Like they don't want to sell way less products and they don't want to like dramatically reduce their workforce. So I don't know how it's going to happen with those battles. I think we saw like a preview of it a little bit around the H-1B issues where it was Elon versus Trump. So I just can't say. I have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah, Elon Musk doesn't want any immigrants unless you're a high-skilled person who can make him more money. Then you get into America with the H-1B visa. He's like, no immigrants. America's got to stay. With his accent, with that weird accent that he has. He's like, right. And he's like, he's the Bond villain. He's really Rasputin. I just wrote about it. He is Rasputin. And it's going to end similar. Yeah. Google it. So, Carolina, what about you? What do you think in a year from now? Like, what country will you be in? And how will things be working out for you, do you think?
Maybe Iceland. I don't know.
Don't go to Greenland. Because he's going to take Greenland.
Yeah. Right. I just need somewhere where they're like, wow, we want a diversity hire. So, just like Kate was saying, like, we're not sure what's going to go because it does seem like the rhetoric happens to be like, okay, now white nationalism, we're deporting brown people unless we can exploit you, and be scared, be very afraid. Now the scared white man who felt like maybe he couldn't even go anywhere in society without bringing down minorities and women are now feeling emboldened. So I guess now, if anything, there's just going to be just a lot of chatter, a lot of bullshit, and a lot of just infighting, personal, horrible situations going within, while the people at the top, while Trump and the oligarchs get to spew this all out. I mean, it's very William Randolph Hearst, right? And then they get what they want out of it, basically.
Interesting.
Eventually. Yeah.
And Carolina's not going to be deported. I'm pretty sure you won't be
to Jackson Heights, Queens.
That's right. So it's not going to happen. My friend. I don't want people to be like, well, you're joking about her being deported. I'm producing a comedy show. So I do this Big Brown comedy show every few months. And I was calling this show the last show before we get deported. And people were like, don't do that because it's really, like, I'm really concerned about getting deported. One of the comics actually said it to me. I'm like, what are you telling me about your status? It's like, seriously, like, I'm not going to get into it. I'm like, okay, I will subtly call that the title of the show, but it's just called the Big Round Comedy Show Sunday. So, by the way, there was a new AP poll today. Only 2 in 10 Americans, 20%, think they're very confident Trump will be able to lower the cost of groceries. So it wasn't about the cost of groceries, was it, Kevin? What was it about?
What was that? I do want to say, if the deportation start, I am available on the date that you do the Big Brown Comedy Show to fill in for that.
Oh, it's going to be all white comics in the future. It's going to be like the Big Brown Show.
It's going to be diversity hire. You're going to need a diversity hire on that show. I'm into that. Oh, my
God.
Look, I don't know. Who knows how it's going to go? No one. I think you could have said that about Biden. I think you could have say that about Trump. Who knows because I don't think anyone would have said Roe versus Wade got overturned during Biden's administration. So who knows how it's going to go.
True.
But what I will say is I think the shock and awe is going to be that Biden is going to think that it's his inauguration. I think that he's going to get up and give his speech, and everyone's going to be in shock and awe of what's going to happen.
That would be great. He just walks up and puts his hand on the Bible. It's like, I got this. I'm still president. I have absolute immunity. And then a drone strike takes Trump out.
He calls himself,
oh, my God.
He calls himself Donald J. Trump. He actually thinks he's him.
That would be actually fun. He does impressions. All right, we got a couple minutes left. I want to have each of you have a chance to plug what you want and where people can follow you. Let's start with you, Kate, my friend. Where can people follow your work, and what do you want to plug?
It is Kate.Willett, Willett, on Instagram. Please follow me there for stand-up clips and tour dates. I have a special on Amazon. And this weekend, I will be at Dr. Grin's in Grand Rapids. And I hope you come out if you're in the Michigan area. And then next week, I have 2 shows at San Francisco Sketch Fest on
that's cool.
Tuesday and Wednesday. So please, Bay Area people, come to see those shows. Thank you.
Great. And Carolina, what about you? I know you're performing and also your podcast, of course. You work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And also there's a live stream we got going on tonight, 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern. No Dogs in Space. Just Google that live stream.
No Dogs in Space.
You'll find it. Yes, where we come on every other Friday. We do our live stream, and as well as our new series that is coming up, and other shows. Check out Carolina Danger Hidalgo on Instagram while it's still up. No TikTok. Sorry.
No TikTok. So you're doing a live stream of No Dogs in Space?
Yeah, we absolutely are. Yeah. We put it on YouTube
great.
and everything. Check out Last Podcast Network YouTube channel.
So Kevin, you've been working a lot. You got a few shifts you've been picking up down at different. So Kevin, where can people follow you? Kevin is on the road touring on your own, right? And then also opening for Carlos Mencia.
Yeah. Occasionally I get back on tour with Mencia. It's a fun time. I've been back on the road a lot, which has been nice. I was pre-pandemic, and then I'm finally starting to get back out. I'm in New York City all the time. You can catch me bouncing around the city, club to club, and then I have some road dates coming up. All of those are on my website, kevindombrowski.com. All my social media at Kevin Dombrowski. Same thing, clips online, stand up if you like what you see. Come out to a show. It's a fun time.
And what about a new album? Last time you were on, High with Molly and all that kind of stuff. What happened?
Yes, the first album is High on Molly. The last album I put out was the beginning of last year. It was called Stay at Home Kevin. And then I'm just wrapping up, finishing. I'm going to be recording a special. It'll be my second child arrives in March, so it'll be after March. I don't want to put a recording on my plate. Thank you before the second one gets here. So I will be recording a special. I would say probably by the summer. I'll be wrapping that up, and then you can look for that at the end of the year. So that'll be available everywhere online.
I've been working on my album for a while now. It's the best of George W. Bush jokes. I'm almost got it. It's so close to be finalized. I got the impression down. I'm honing the material. I think it's a little edgy. So
I think you'll be shocked and awed when you hear it.
Oh, well, look, Carolina, Kate, and Kevin, it's great to have you on for the last time we do this in freedom and not captivity, at least for me and Kate and Carolina. Kevin will be the overseer. But remember us, Kevin, put in a word. We're one of the good ones, right?
I got you. You guys are all on the list. Thanks so much.